Just transition. That is the tagline that I heard from Daniel Smith talking about this act by Justin Trudeau, the government of Canada, to come up with a way to transition away from fossil fuels and to renewable energy. And it was interesting. I hadn't heard this term, just transition. It says, if anyone needed any more evidence, Trudeau has replaced Canada's dreams of becoming an energy superpower with a religious-like fanaticism of global warming zealotry. One only needs to look to his apparent rejection of Japan's request for natural gas supplies and details about the government's forthcoming just transition legislation. So Trudeau and his government have put forward this just transition legislation. Again, the idea of moving away from oil and gas towards renewable energy. And in fact, and indeed, they actually rejected Japan's request for more fossil fuels. Japan said, look, we'll give you money for fossil fuel. And what did Trudeau say? He said no. I thought this was incredible. Again, a term I hadn't heard before. This is Daniel Smith saying, talking about the just transition, and she doesn't like it. Trudeau's government plot to eliminate 2.7 million jobs with its just transition plan. So destroying the hardworking Canadians and destroying their choice of an option for income in favor of, again, renewable energy, which does not work, especially in a northern country, where energy is needed 24/7, not just when the sun's up or not just when the wind is blowing. And so it's incredible. Now, the interesting thing about this was I was just reading an article from the World Economic Forum and Guterres, the leader here. This was on Fox News, and he says a very interesting thing. Not only is he our guest prophecy speaker, but he speaks of a just transition. The terminology just transition is coming from Guterres and the World Economic Forum directly. And come to find out, this must be where Justin Trudeau got his naming for his legislation. Global economy headed for eye of Category 5 hurricane. Again, a guest commentator, and you talk about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and I think he is basically speaking about it. We are looking into the eye of a Category 5 hurricane. Our world is plagued by a perfect storm. I think of the poly crisis, and this is what Christians have been saying forever. John Haller, the convergence of prophetic events, is occurring as we speak. Start with the short term, he says, the global economic crisis, economic collapse. Remember, this is a big tool that the Antichrist uses when he comes in. The outlook, as we all know, is bleak. And the page keeps loading. Many of the parts of the world face recession, and the entire world faces a slowdown. And we see deepening inequalities and rapidly unfolding cost of living crisis affecting women and girls the most. Supply chain disruptions and energy crunch, soaring prices, he says. The war in Ukraine, skyrocketing food and energy prices. Climate change, increased wealth inequity, and were some of the factors Guterres feared are creating a situation that provide a clear recession perspective. And they use the word recession. I think it is really a depression, but they don't want to panic people. They don't want to make people remember what happened in 1929 with the stock market, etc. And basically, he is effectively describing, Matthew 24, Revelation 6, of course, and the apocalypse, all the things that happen and are the lead up to the 7-year tribulation period, and then the wrath of God, all the things that are leading up to that. He is effectively describing and confirming that they're all happening. They're all converging at the same time. And that's exactly why we believe we're in the last days. When you see all these things, know that your redemption draws nigh, says the Word of God. And so all these things, not just one of them or two of them even, or maybe even three of them, but when you see all these things, you know that the last days are upon us. Interest rates going up extremely. In the global south, countries are close to default economic collapse. They have no resources, famine, because they couldn't print money like the U.S. did. And the U.S. isn't going to be able to print money forever. Saudi Arabia is moving from the greenback. They're going to lose their world reserve currency status. And if they don't have world reserve currency status, that means they can't print money out of thin air. Remember, most countries have to actually earn that money. They have to dig something out of the ground and sell it, like minerals, or plant produce, or dig up gold, silver. They can't just go to buy some printers from Home Depot and print off money. Which is what the U.S. is doing because it has the world reserve currency and nobody can say anything about it. But that's what they have the ability to do, and so countries are going to default because they can't do that. He says, and this is interesting. Watch this. Incredible. I never heard this, and this is complete words and talking points coming from the World Economic Forum through to Justin Trudeau of Canada. And you will hear just transition in the U.S. Maybe you already have. I haven't seen the details there. But this seems to be the new talking point, just transition. And I think of all the governments, especially those who are bound up in the World Economic Forum, Jacinta Ardern in, what is it, not Australia, the name escapes me right now, but anyway, New Zealand, I think it's New Zealand. Just watch, they're going to have legislation, and the name of it's going to be just transition legislation. So it says, when asked what the UN can do to combat the economic hurricane, Guterres laid out a proposal from the United Nations that emphasizes a global stimulus to address economic woes. What does that mean? A bunch of money printing, a bunch of new debt, as well as tools to oversee a just transition. So they have put out talking points to all the people who have taken part in the World Economic Forum and been taught by that and been part of that process, including Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, who is now using that talking point to push forward legislation specifically called that, to move from fossil fuels to clean energy. Remember that clean energy, solar panels, batteries, use rare earth minerals. That means someone is basically, in a way, raping the land. In China, in the poor countries, they are digging up these rare earth minerals, and they're called rare for a reason because there's not many of them. We're using them up to make all these batteries. They have no real way to recycle a lot of these, and these are poisonous. And these are rare earth minerals are not renewable. Did you know that fossil fuels were renewable? Fossil fuels are made by trees. Trees are renewable. Trees grow. Trees and a whole bunch of foliage, if it's buried, that is what produces oil. Go read on how oil is made, and they can make oil in the lab by compressing organics. So oil really is a renewable resource, although not en masse. But you look at rare earth minerals, that's not necessarily renewable, and all the poor countries are taking the brunt, are being poisoned. The land is being torn up to get all these rare earth minerals and chemicals for the batteries, which this is the green agenda is not sustainable. It is not renewable. It is a bad idea, but they don't see that. They just want a new way to make money. So, folks, I'll leave it there. It's incredible. Just transition. This is happening. Legislation in Canada from Justin Trudeau about it, and I suspect you'll hear from your governments soon about just transition legislation coming straight from the leadership of the World Economic Forum.